Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. I am Vaibhav and we are going to see our today's video topic, that is stack. So basically, stack is a linear data structure type in which we are storing we are performing operation on that same data type structure. That means we are inserting the same data type structure only. Like if we are inserting integer, that time we are able to only use integer within that stack. We are not able to using different type data structure in a one stack. We can see all brief discussion on a stack. So firstly, the stack is a linear type data structure. That means it inserting the value or elements linearly. That means it is in a form of a linear. We see example for it. We know that old days there is a CD stand. That CD stand having one pillar between that. We are putting a CDs on that stand. So whenever we put first CD, it goes on bottom side. After that, second CD, third CD, fourth CD. Whenever we need to remove any CD, that time we have to pick last CD. Where we have to pick that last CD which will put on that. That means our um, our our stack is work on LIFO. That means last in first out. Last in first out. That means we are inserting that last element that will be come out first. We are removing or we are capturing that element firstly, which we are putting lastly. That is on that LIFO, our uh, our uh, our stack will be work. So we see what are the different objects will be covered. Objects are will be covered with the help of stack. There are we are going to see five different methods like insertion. We can call also called as push. After that, declare uh, deletion, that we are also called pop. After that, pick, and then empty and full. We are seeing these things one by one. So first is our insertion. That means we are also called as a push. Insertion means in our stack we are inserting a data with the help of insertion. That time our stack having some memory storage or memories we are having some capacity. That capacity should we have to identify that capacity. So how will identify that capacity? Let's see. Our stack are having initially at bottom side it have a top minus one value. That means at the bottom side there is a top minus one value. When we inserting some element between that time that top will be increased by one. That means top plus plus. As we are increasing or increasing element between that stack one by one, that time our top will be increasing by one. That will be our top get plus plus plus. That means consider if my stack is having size of 5, that time it will be put as our first element at a bottom side. That means at a zero position, because our stack having my stack as having minus one value. Initially we are putting the inserting the first value. That time it goes up first point. That means our stack comes from minus 1 to 0. You understand? That means our stack will come from minus 1 to 0 when we are putting one value within our stack. That means our first value will put on the position of 0. After that, second value put on the position of 1. After that, we are putting the value, it will be increasing by one. And our last fifth element will be placed at the fourth position, because our value should be start from 0 to 4. That means the size is equal to 5. So there is not any change of size. It having same capacity, but it indicated it is initializing from 0 to n. That means it starts from 0 and go up to n. So the main thing is that we are putting or initializing data between the our stack. After that, our next method is um, uh, delegation. That means deletion. That means pop. We also called as pop. With the help of that pop method, we are only call that method, or we are only call that element which are putting lastly, or which are putting the last element in our stack. We are get that element out from our stack. That means in our example, there we are putting the five elements. That time there is at four position, there is our fifth element. If we are calling the pop method, that time we are removing, or we are get that fifth element from our stack. We are not able to get that last element 0 1 2 3. Firstly we are getting that last element. That means we are removing the fifth element outside of the outside of our, with the help of pop. After that, there is a next method is our pick. There is a same function of pick and pop, but there is a major difference between them. At the time we are using, at the time of using a pop, that time the element which is stored in our stack will be directly removed from that storage of our stack. That means when we using a pop, our fifth element will be directly removed from the stack. But when we using pick method, that time it gives return fifth element, but it store that fifth element within that stack. It does not directly remove that fifth element. It's only remove the copy of that fifth element. That is the major difference between pick and pop. After, we are going to see our next element is that next method is that to checking is full. Whenever we use full, that time we are knowing that we are seeing our example. There is a capacity of our stack is 5. If we putting that 5 value between the within our stack, that our stack capacity will be at the end. That means that our stack will be full. That time if our stack is full, it should work our it should works on boolean. That means true or false. If our stack is full, that time it gives result as a true. That means if our stack is full, that means use is result 5, result true. If our stack is not fully filled, that time our elemental consider there is a only 0 1 2 3 elements are there. That time it condition is false. That means our full method is false. And another method is full, that is also working on our boolean condition, is vice versa of our full condition. Vice versa work. If we are considering, if we are checking the full condition, empty, sorry, our next method is that is the empty condition. Sorry, empty condition. When we are using empty condition, that time if our stack is completely empty, that means not any element presence in our stack, that time the condition is true and it show the empty. After that, there is a there is a memory allocation for our stack is like, whenever we using stack by by a array, that time the memory allocation will be done as a static memory. That means when we use array, when we use stack by the array, the overall array will be allocated the memory with the static memory. And we are using another way of our stack, that is linked list. Whenever we using linked list, whenever you use stack by linked list, that time it allocate the memory by dynamically. That means we are performing the linked list operation, that time it perform memory allocation by dynamically process. We are using our stack by these two methods, that is by array and by linked list. After that, we are see one more condition for it, that is let's suppose my stack is empty. That means not any element in our stack, but I was called for a pop method. That time our that time it show underflow condition. That means there is a not any element is present, but it we are calling for the pop method for the getting element from stat, so it show underflow condition. Vice versa, if our stack is completely full and after that we are using a push method, that means our stack having capacity of 5 and after that capacity we are giving more input to that stack, that time it show directly overflow. That means it goes over to our capacity of stack. After that, lastly we see some real life example of our stack. The real life examples, like we are using a stack for string reversing. Let's consider example of if I have to use a stack for reversing the string. That time my string is considered A B C D. That time I will push that data as A B C D sequence or in that manner. And at the time of I am popping the element from that stack, that time it pop like DCBE. That means in a reverse manner. I will giving input in a straight manner, that is A B C, and I will get output as a CBA. That means our string will be reversed. And another example is that we know all the text editors. In our text editor, if we are having any mistake, that time we are deleting some text or some data, and there is some provision for the undo. You know that undo function. So there is a provision for undo. We are using Control Z button. That means we are using the undo. That time the data which is lastly deleted will be recovered. That means the last we are giving we are pushing that data will be pop with the help of using our concept. So that is overall about our stack. Thank you.